Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about taking tiny steps through fears and turning anxiety into confidence. I want to talk about something tender, something brave, and something I think we all face at one time or another. Have you ever noticed how anxiety has a way of introducing new fears into your life? Maybe this doesn't happen to you, but maybe it does, even when we have been far away from our panicked and, quote, anxiety days. We can feel that moment of a trigger. It could be when it's a seemingly innocent moment, watching a plane take off or speaking in front of a group, walking into a crowded room, and suddenly you have a trigger from deep inside you that makes you feel very uncomfortable. Maybe your chest tightens or your breath shortens and your mind is racing with stories and possibilities in the future. So here's the reframe that I want to offer. These new fears or these budding phobias or aversions, triggers, whatever you would like to call them, can actually be gifts. Yes, I know that sounds a little strange to think of that as a gift when that moment comes up. But in my experience and in the experience of many people who I have walked the path of healing and growth with, these fears can become doorways. A doorway to confidence, to courage, and deep inner peace. And it starts with tiny steps. When we face and befriend these external fears, fears of flying, fears of spiders or bugs, of speaking up, of being alone, we begin to build a kind of strength. This outer work helps us lay the foundation to eventually face the deeper, more internal anxieties, such as the fear of not being enough, or the fear of rejection, or the fear of change. So how do we begin? How do we move forward when the fear feels paralyzing? I want to offer today 3 steps that you might take. Think of these as invitations, gentle, doable, and grounded in self-kindness. And I want kindness involved here because kindness, more than anything, is what helps to keep the process healing instead of harsh and painful. So let's start with the first step. This step is all about proximity without pressure. Think of it as dipping your toe in the water rather than diving into the deep end. So let's take a common example that I've worked with many people with, the fear of flying. Instead of booking a flight tomorrow, something that might cause a full-blown panic attack for some people, why don't you just go smaller, tiny steps and drive to the airport? Maybe you could just sit in your car in the parking lot, watching the planes take off and land. This isn't about exposure therapy in the traditional sense. It's more about building a relationship. It's about being close enough to say, I see you, fear. I'm watching. I'm here, without forcing anything, without judgment. And even if that feels like too much, if your body starts to tighten or your heart races, then that's information. So you can back off. Maybe next time you just look at a photo of a plane or hear the sound of a jet overhead from a distance and notice it. And that counts too. What we're doing is teaching your nervous system that when you are even in the proximity of the trigger, that you are safe, that this moment is okay. Once your body begins to feel a little bit more comfortable, once you can sit in the parking lot without spiraling into anxiety or going down the wormhole, you can take the next tiny step. Maybe now you go inside the airport terminal and walk around and be hanging around the lines that are so long and busy. And again, you're not boarding a plane, you're just being present. You're in the proximity. You're inviting your body to recognize that it can exist near the fear and be okay. And I want you to do this kind of step over and over until it becomes feeling boring. Yes, this is where boring is a really good thing, because your boring feeling means your nervous system is beginning to understand that there's no real threat here. And when you're ready, only when you're ready, you can add a little more. You walk a little farther. You spend a little more time. You gently lean into the fear without forcing it. Now, here is the next step. Step 3, and this is the one that can really help to change everything. Place something or someone that you love on the other side of your fear. Using the flying example again, you may book a very short flight to see dear family or family members. Let your love for that person pull you toward the experience. You're not just doing it to face your fear, you're doing it to connect, to celebrate, to live more fully. And when love enters the equation, courage often follows. Think of a mother who can do phenomenal acts of strength to save her child. We're willing to move toward something that brings us joy or connection or love, even if it means trembling a bit on the way there. And that trembling, it's okay. It's part of the process. It's the sound of your bravery waking up. Now, I want to speak to something important here. This process is not linear. It's not perfect, and it's not always pretty. You might take a step forward and then feel like you've taken 2 steps back. That's okay. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. The most critical piece of all of this is that self-compassion I talked about, the kindness that I talked about. You beat yourself up. If you do that, if you scold yourself for being afraid or not taking a big enough leap forward, your nervous system hears all of that as danger. And that keeps the fear alive. That is the fear, adrenaline, fear cycle that we talk about here in so many other episodes. So be gentle, be patient. Talk to yourself as you would a beloved child or a close friend. Say you're doing great. It's okay to be scared, and I'm proud of you. It is a little messy. And let it be messy. Let it be imperfect. Because perfection is not the goal. Progress is. That's an old 12-step saying, right? Progress, not perfection. Even tiny progress, microscopic progress, those little steps matter because they're still steps. And over time, 1 step becomes 2, and 2 becomes 10. And before you know it, you have actually crossed a threshold that you once thought was impossible. I know that this takes time. When we go slow and give our mind and body a chance to go at this pace that feels comfortable, it is taking time. And one of the things that people who are anxious don't feel like they have is time. Well, I want you to understand you have all the time you need, because once you are beyond this, you will be saving so much time in your life. You won't be procrastinating about things. You won't be avoiding things. Your life is going to be so much more flowing and with ease that you are going to save tons of time. So give yourself this gift of going slow, of being able to take care of yourself with kindness. So if you're walking through anxiety right now and you've noticed a new fear show up, something surprising, something inconvenient, try to see it not as a curse, but as a gift, as an opportunity, as a signpost pointing you toward a deeper layer of healing. Haven't you noticed that in life before? Something will pop up and talk about it being inconvenient. It's like, why now? Why is this coming up now? I have to get to the other side of this threshold. I have to get to the other place. How am I going to do that? This fear now is got to be at the most inconvenient time. Well, that's actually a signpost. It is a gift and an opportunity to point you toward the deeper layer of healing that you may now be ready to work on. Maybe you work on it slowly, and you're slow, maybe somebody else is fast. So don't compare with other people or with how you have done it in the past. Let your timing be your timing. Always going back to your nervous system and letting it realize, but we're okay. This is okay right now. And feeling the little flutters of distress and being okay with them. You're going to have to experiment. Again, it will feel like one step forward, maybe 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You want to look at that as a little bit of a dance. You're having a new relationship with your struggle, with discomfort. And you're learning how to move with it. And once you have done this, gone through this kind of a process with one of your fears or one of a new trigger that has come about, you will be able to use all of the learning in other areas of your life. And what I have noticed over all the years of working with people is that once you heal in one area, you will be surprised at how many of your other areas that you were anxious in are no longer as big a deal as they had been before. It's almost like the nervous system is going to be stronger and more confident and not needing to react at every little discomfort that comes your way. So really, looking at one of these new fears or new triggers that seem to pop up for you, if you work on this in this new way, you may notice that some of your other larger anxieties or fears are no longer as big and haunting as they had been before, and some of them may actually be gone. This has happened so many times where a client will want to work on one thing because we know that anxiety is not about the one thing. It's about our nervous system. So if we work on the one thing, they notice that once they have crossed that threshold and are able to do the thing or feel comfortable with the thing, that so many other areas of their life are calmer and more peaceful without stress and fear triggering them into the spiraling thinking or trips down the wormhole or unable to sleep because of the mind racing. So just know that taking your time here is a good investment. You are capable of so much more than you think. And your courage, it's not the absence of fear. It's your willingness to take the tiny steps through it. Again, with kindness, with intention, and with hope. You've got this. I really appreciate you being here with me today. And you know I'll be back with you before you know it. Until next time, take care, be gentle with yourself, and keep walking, tiny step by tiny step. And now for today's quote. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. And that's from Arthur Ashe. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.